I think we're live. Well, this is our first session board session, so I'm excited to actually do this, and we're going to get right to it today. We have two amazing individuals, Lisa Day and Kate Vives, with us. And on the note of just getting right to it, Kate and Lisa, do you mind just kind of giving your current role, where you're at, and what you're up to? Lisa, you want to start?
Sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Lisa. Thanks for being here. Excited to have this discussion today. So I am a senior event marketing manager at Amazon Business. And Kate here is my colleague and partner in crime. She'll introduce herself, but come from a background of live events, virtual events, and B2B space from the promoter side, from the agency side, a little bit of everything. So that's how I landed in my role today at Amazon Business. And I lead our marquee event, Amazon Business Reshape, which I'm sure we'll share a little bit about today as well.
Cool. Yeah, Lisa, when did we meet? We probably met like 10 years ago when you were at Superfly, right?
Yeah. Working on, I think on Outside Lands for Superfly.
Yep. Festival days. Good
Yes.
times. How about you, Kate? What's your current role?
Yeah, I'm Kate. Like Lisa said, we work closely together. I'm the event tech lead for Amazon Business. I manage our event tech stack that serves all of our events, and have a lot of fun doing it. I also come from a background from the agency side, as well as from the technology vendor side as well. So putting a couple of those experiences together is what got me here at Amazon Business today, and kind of handle the strategy, everything that is technology that touches events. So everything from registration to badge printing on site, mobile app, and all of our integrations, all of that crosses my desk.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to bring you guys together, just to hear really how the event strategy and event tech ops kind of work together. So I know we're going to dive into that, but that was really exciting for me to kind of dig into and just kind of share some of the learnings that you guys see along the way. But before we do that, can either of you kind of give me some perspective or context on the Amazon Business event portfolio, or the areas that you guys cover as well?
Sure, I can do that. And Kate, feel free to jump in. So for anyone who's not familiar with Amazon Business, we are a part of Amazon.com. We are the B2B solution for, I guess, what you use as a consumer using Amazon Prime. So businesses use Amazon Business as a partner and supplier to purchase products for their offices, for their facilities, for whatever it might be. So think Amazon Prime in bulk for your business. So our customers are everyone. Our customers could be you. And so the event that I lead is Amazon Business Reshape. That's our marquee flagship event, if you will. We're going into our third year of this event as our business grows. And it is a customer event where we come together as Amazon Business, as our customers, to meet, to network, to hear from thought leaders, to hear from customers, and really just accelerate our path collectively with smart business buying. So that's what Amazon Business Reshape is all about. Amazon Business also has a localized version of similar to Reshape called Amazon Business Exchange. Right now it's hosted in the EU and in Japan. So our EU event is in the UK. And then we also, within my team, we sponsor events. So think like a third party portfolio. So events in the procurement space and the business space, some events that are more industry focused, so that we can meet our customers where they are. So that's a little bit about our team. We have, webinars and more field events as well, but we really focus, and by we, I mean Kate and I, really focus on those flagship owned events.
Got it. Awesome. And Kate, I'm assuming you work across the portfolio, but is Reshape a big area of focus for you?
Oh, it sure is. We partner together on Reshape. It's where we try to bar raise our own events. That's our model. Year over year, we try to raise the bar on that event, and then we try to use those learnings for all of our events, across all of our events, really.
Awesome. Well, you've been using kind of Reshape as a good litmus. I'm curious. So Reshape ends, and what is the first little bit of your process, Lisa? And then how do you incorporate Kate into that? And walk me through what this kind of annual cycle looks like then when it comes to Reshape.
We're still figuring it out.
We
Going
all.
into year 3. If you look back at year 1, it's your first time doing it. So you have nothing to benchmark against. You're totally inventing, you're using your experience in other events we've done in our life, using experience from other Amazonians and other events that Amazon has produced. And then year 2, we just completed year 2, and our event was in November, and this next event is going to be in September. So by the time we were done with our November event, we're 2 months into our planning cycle for our event this year. So a little bit about like the way things end. The event ends. So right now, this is just an in-person event. It's not a hybrid event, but we do have a bit of an on-demand experience from some of our main stage sessions that we launch once the event closes, to keep our customers engaged and informed, and for anyone who wasn't able to make it, to share some of the great content with our customers. Then we're straight into planning for the next year, and it's a very Amazon thing, but we always kick off a project with a strategy review as a collective team where we call it for Reshape our steering committee. So our core project leads come together to build a strategy. We have a postmortem. We use that postmortem to inform our new strategy, revisit our goals and objectives and tenets and all of that good stuff to make sure that we're aligned as a team, make sure the right people are in place, and that we're working towards the same targets. So when it comes to kicking off with event technology, we need to get our contracts in place. We need to get our team members onboarded so that we can actually begin the executional phase. So that's sort of a high level view how we begin to kick off.
Cool. And then I'm sure that content is intertwined, but specifically as we focus on content here, does that really begin at the steering committee and then it branches out, or how are you kind of incorporating the rest of the organization in that beginning process of on the content side of things?
Sure. I can say, while we're at the event, while we were in Chicago, we were already talking about content. People had great ideas. Our customers are there. People are listening in. They're excited. They want to participate in the future. They have ideas for the future. So we take a lot of that anecdotal feedback while the event is happening, and even leading up to the event, the previous event, people who couldn't make it because of a scheduling conflict. We start planning and engaging our speaker Rolodex way in advance. It's something that's just done on a rolling basis.
Got it. And something that really kind of intrigues me is how these events of this type is. So take something like Reshape, how that should be in my mind so correlated to the goals of the organization. How do you kind of think about KPIs? It doesn't have to be the specific, but how do you guys think about KPIs in that initial steering committee meeting? And do you incorporate that throughout? What does that look like?
Kate, do you want to share a little bit, or do you want me to take it?
Sure. No, we have, so obviously every group of stakeholders has their own set of KPIs. And what I could do is I could speak to the event technology KPIs briefly. And then of course we have large event wide and even org wide KPIs for these events as well. But for me, for event technology, there's some that are really easy right off the top that we kind of all know about. And a lot of those revolve around things like attendee engagement rate or technology adoption rate. And those are good. I don't want to take them for granted. But some that are more important to me, and I've taken just a vested interest going along in this position, is really truly creating operational efficiency improvements. So one of my personal team goals is to reduce time it takes to plan the event, reduce resources, reduce costs, and just basically lift the load for both the planners and the stakeholders when it comes to doing their job. And then in addition to that, we want to be able to measure like an improved customer experience. So whether it's through reduced registration kind of completion time or reduced on-site check-in time, or even from a customer support standpoint, reduced issue resolution time. We want to see those incremental improvements year over year, so that we know that we're doing the best we can from our customer, whether our customer's internal, an internal stakeholder or the final attendee. And then last, of course, we want to be able to prove ROI. So not just ROI on the event technology investment, but ROI on the entire event. So how can I equip Lisa's team to have the data that they need and the data points that they need to really arrive to those and like analyzed points and make conclusions and make decisions based on that data, and prove the value of their event overall. So those are some of my big ones there.
And you guys chat, it sounds like, on a daily basis. And I'm assuming this is one of those core things that you talk about quite a bit, or what does that conversation look like at any given time?
Yeah, I mean, so the way we sort of structure, just from a structural standpoint, and going back to the KPIs, and then I'll get to that one, is we have like what we call them VP level goals at Amazon, and we have that basically expands to your entire team. So all of the stakeholders, different departments, so that we all are like laddering up to that one goal. What Kate was just describing was more of a departmental level goal. So we have like our, higher level goals, then we have event level goals that we as like a committee collectively are aligned to. And then from there, we have these like basically SMART goals that roll into those North Star goals. And that's kind of what Kate just described. So how we stay in touch is, we do stand-ups, we do check-ins, and we hold each other accountable to those event level goals, because it's like kind of the trickle down effect. Like if those department level goals aren't performing, they aren't helping the event level goals that ladder up then into those like executive level goals. So we level set, not to keep using the word level, on an often basis to make sure that there's no blockers or anything that's standing in the way of the customer experience.
Got it. And do you have anything similar when it comes to like content themes? Is the theme I know this is the third year, it sounds like, but have you evolved the theme, and then does that drive down to the different sessions? How does that kind of through line work, Lisa, when it comes to content strategy?
It is hot off the press right now. We are working through that exercise right now. So it does evolve. While, Amazon Business and our product and technology, that stays consistent, but, it evolves over time. And smart business buying as a category is something that's always weaved into our content. We really try to hear from customer voice on feedback from thematic, sessions from the year previous. We use our customer advisory boards to, inform us about content that's relevant to decision makers. We look at macroeconomics. We look at what's happening in the world, and we do adjust our theme to make sure that it's relevant and helpful to our attendees year over year. And with our event being at the end of the year, it's often challenging because we're actually looking to the next year. So in September, we're going to be talking about like tools for success in 2025. So it has to be we have to be very forward looking.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems so obvious, but having a customer advisory board, that in and of itself, leveraged right, can have a major impact even on a business like ours. So I can imagine in the event world, that could be really useful. So kind of switching gears, Kate, one of the things I think is really interesting is this kind of your role, this like internal in-house event tech ops role is somewhat of a new role, I think, in the scheme of things. Are you seeing that kind of pop up more and more? And is there a particular reason why you think that is the case? And yeah, I'd love to hear your kind of thoughts on that.
Sure, sure. This is such a great topic, and it's obviously of high interest to me. But
Yeah.
I think one of the cool things about my position, well, let me take it back 10 years because I know that we're like back a decade, as you were saying. What
Yeah.
were we doing then? And why, where was this position back then? And I think back then we were doing everything on paper. We were budgeting on paper, keeping our playbooks in three-ring binders, and pre-printing and sorting badges, all that stuff, all that good stuff. And I think that there were really technology at that point. Event technology was supplemental, and it's really shifted to be central now. And that is really in line with how our expectations for interactions with technology have shifted as a consumer, like regardless of the use case. And I think in many cases, we wore many hats and we may have been focusing on event technology, but our titles may not have reflected it. And so now we're kind of getting that attention that we deserve. And it also goes, it goes a long way in saying that it just kind of awakened the importance that the role tech plays, and the focus on it has increased because it's been driven by a shift in stakeholder and attendee expectations around events. So we expect more out of events. We expect every touch point to be smoother. We expect to be able to get every last data point out to make our decisions. And those are very complex when we're tying into multiple systems. We're sorting through multiple different types of technology, and someone has to have it all in view. They have to understand the way that events work, the why behind events. They have to have a little bit of technical knowledge to be able to tie those into existing systems. And it's really a nuanced and kind of niche set of knowledge and skills. And so I think that that continues to be identified more and more, and people know that there are people out there that fit that bill and they want them on their team.
Yeah, it's an interest. Go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, you nailed it. Like, your role is so critical, and having you as a core stakeholder on our team is essential because, like, this role, so at the service level, you're like, oh, event technology. It's like your tech, your back of house. You like think of it that way, but like you're truly like you have to be a generalist with the experience. You wear a marketing hat and you wear an operations hat in that role, and I think that's where there's still like a lot of education around your role, Kate. And I hope to see more of those types of roles popping up because it's so needed to have that background in events because you're often having to make event level decisions on behalf of your stakeholders, and you have to have that background.
Yeah, I think as things become more digitized, it's an interesting combination. The skill set is an interesting combination of like, an engineer mindset, but with the capabilities of a marketer, and then being able to communicate across all, all components of the organization. And so I think that's only going to get more critical. I also think, to that degree, and I'm going to put you guys on the spot here, but I'd love your thoughts. I think the content team, the event content team, whoever's really focused on that, almost has to have a similar skill set in many ways, because again, content is not just now about the in-person session. It's about what you do with that content now year round. How does that, correlate to the rest of the marketing team? So, that's one of the things that I thought was unique about you both and how you work together, because I think it's a very similar skill set in some ways. And they are two roles that quickly in the event marketing world, I think are going to continue to rise in need and favor because it's so critical to the rest of the marketing org. Am I correct in that thinking? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I think that for surviving and staying at the status quo and just getting by, you maybe, you don't invest in that position, but pushing yourself to the next level and wanting to not just do well, but do better and set new benchmarks for yourself, wow your guests, wow your own internal stakeholders with the way that their life got easier. that's when you start evaluating, hey, do we need this position? And by creating this position, how does it improve our process for both, our planners and our attendees?
Yeah. I'm curious. Go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, I was going to say, I think you're right with like the shift of digital that, years back, like being in event content was more of like being an event talent buyer, where you find someone to speak on a session, you let them be the expert, and that's like totally evolved. Like event content and product marketing are like, it's sort of like an intersection of the two now, being in events and being in product marketing. You have to be able to bring on the right talent. You need to be able to advise the talent. You need to be able to understand how it fits into your whole strategic picture. You need to understand writing. You need to understand communications. Like, I think every event content role is also an event communications role. There is just kind of buried in it, but they're synonymous in a way. And then of course you need to have the background in the event, like the speaker logistics, that whole experience, the production side. It's very multifaceted.
Yeah, it's interesting because it seems like folks that are really focused on curating that content with the actual speaker also have to be so knowledgeable of the distribution process and where it's going to go and all of those components. So
especially on slimmer teams, which we know that teams are getting slimmer and slimmer these days. And so there's a lot of expectations for these core team members to be able to carry many bags, wear many hats, if you will.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And so how much are you guys involving the rest of the organization in this process? So, and is that where that core team that you talked about, Lisa, in the beginning comes into play, or how much are you reaching beyond the event team to involve the rest of the business?
We involve the rest of the business in some of our like key decisions. Like I said, like our overarching goals and tenets and objectives, anything that's like net new that we're adding to an experience that like affects the customer, like we call them like one-way decisions. Anything that you make this decision, you can't really turn back on it. There's like two-way door decisions where, you can pivot and iterate. Those we can make more of those decisions on our own as the experts. But those bigger decisions, we involve the business, but we provide regular updates to the business just so that they're informed and in the loop. And, proactive communication is key when you work at a large organization with on an event that has a lot of eyes on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For me, from the tech standpoint, Lisa and I and multiple team members, we work, for example, a landing page or an event app or a registration process up to what we think is ready to go, and then we host internal bug bashes for all of those launches, and we invite the greater team. So we invite tech team members, we invite people who are not familiar with the registration process, who haven't been looking at it every day. And then we have a format for them submitting their feedback in real time. And then we spend a few minutes on that call at the end to bring up any major items. And then we spend the next couple days cleaning up anything else that was found. And then we do what we call a walk the store with leadership. So once everything's polished, we do that. They call out anything they see there. If we need to make changes from that call, we do. And then that's when it's ready for our customers. So leading up to that, many decisions have to be made, of course. And like Lisa said, we try to make the majority of the decisions on our own, and anything that significantly impacts the customer experience or the bottom line financially, that's when you really, want to get sign off.
Very cool. Yeah. So how much are you both interacting in those programs that you just mentioned there, Kate? Are you guys talking quite a bit about those, or Lisa, you involved in that process as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I that's something I would lead, those bug bashes with the teams that have worked on those projects. And then Lisa's looped into everything.
And are bug bashes unique to Amazon? Have you seen that used other places, or? It's a cool name.
I think that it's unique to product management. So, or anyone who's, working on sprints and about to release a product or release or launch a new product would want to go through various. Yeah.
And do you see kind of that same concept happen throughout, Lisa? Are you doing things like that beyond just tech, or is that feedback? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Things like, selecting our keynote speaker, selecting entertainment. We go through a process of, nominations and vetting, and go through rounds of, running it by diverse stakeholders to make sure we're on the right path, and then ultimately present our recommendation to a core group of leaders to make a decision, make our offers. So that's one area that we do it with talent. Similarly, with like session intake, we have a content committee that reviews all of the session intake, that bar raises it, makes sure that it's laddering up to our themes, and that we have like the right speakers that can raise the bar at our events. So everything from selecting talents, from selecting sessions, it all goes through similar processes. And in some cases, it's different stakeholders, especially when we're leaning into like the content side. We're getting more in front of our actual product marketers, portfolio marketers, the people that are closest to our go-to-market, communications, et cetera.
So in that evaluation process, Lisa, how much are you having to prompt that group of people that is looking at those individuals to think about those things that you mentioned, and what does that look like?
So similar to the strategy doc that I described, we actually write a content narrative. That's also another document. We're big on docs at Amazon. That should be no surprise. It's one of our yep. unique things. But we have that content doc in place to really lay out the theme, lay out our session types, lay out potential abstracts and topics, and so that when we have these speakers that we're ready to nominate, it makes the process easier. Like they look at them, they look at what the speaker is an expert on, they can sample their videos, and they can make sure that it aligns to everything we've agreed upon from like a content narrative standpoint. So that's how we try to prepare ourselves and use these docs as our safety nets, almost, to be like, well, this is what we agreed on, and this person fits the bill. It like almost makes the decision. It's like, here's our recommendation, and they should say yes. But it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes we get people that are like, whoa, this is totally off. And then like, why did we make this decision? Like, but that happens, especially when you work for an organization that's growing and changing and shifting, and new leaders come in. So we have to be flexible. Yeah. Both of us in our roles. So there's a lot of iterative thinking, and that's core to our business. And that's what I think keeps it advancing us forward and makes us customer obsessed.
Totally. Very cool. Well, one of the things that I see in the industry, I don't know how much you guys pay attention to, but I see that it feels like there's a lot of momentum in the industry that is kind of evolving, how events are evolving in importance to the overall marketing entity of the organization. I'm curious, as operators in a big organization, have you seen that within Amazon or within your world, or do you see that amongst your peers? And what's your take on that side of things? Kate, do you see that?
Sure. I mean, I think that from an Amazon standpoint, we've been pushing the envelope, or we've seen the importance of events for a long time, especially on the AWS counterparts. They have been perfecting the event product now for years and years. And even as the pandemic arose, like many other tech companies at the time, they pulled out every stop to pivot to virtual, to maintain the communication avenue or the communication channel to their customer via events. And I think that it's highly important. But us as an Amazon business, you kind of got to walk before you can run. And we are starting to pick up speed, is what I would say. And it's a really fun thing to be a part of, because doc after doc or event after event, we're seeing that progress. Wouldn't you say, Lisa?
Absolutely. And I think like while I sit on like a core events team, we're seeing other teams, starting to have their own events world that's not part of our core portfolio, like looking at field marketing, like they have their own portfolio. It's still events. And so we're seeing as this core event team that we're needing to be able to scale our operations and provide processes to our counterparts who might want to just host a webinar, but my team, we don't host webinars. That's a more field marketing focused program at Amazon Business in particular, or wanting to host customer advisory boards or executive briefings, or just a dinner, like a dinner in a market with customers. And so what our team is trying to do is build out a scalable solution that can be shared with our counterparts that are also hosting events, including on the sales side, like sales kickoffs, like those are events too. And they're huge events. So I think I answered your question, but yes, the answer is like events are blowing up in every way, shape, and form right now.
Yeah, it seems like it. And if you kind of read the tea leaves going forward, it seems like that the roles that you both have just inherently become more important to the overall marketing org. And if the marketing org does a good job of tying that content through line as well as the KPIs from tech, then it becomes a more obvious ROI that only should elevate, event folks into those further decision-making opportunities at the executive level. I would assume is where it would go long-term. So the last question I have for you both is, as you kind of think about your current role or your current careers in this, do you have any other ways that you think marketing teams, the general marketing team, can leverage what you both do more effectively? And this doesn't have to be Amazon Business, but just continue ideas on how marketing can leverage the event marketing team more to, hit their goals and things of that nature.
You go first.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, going back to what Lisa said earlier, just on the trickle down or the value of all of our portfolio events, not just our tier 1, tier 2 events. I think that some of those other events could also leverage event technology to kind of raise the bar on that. So again, you got to walk before you run, but next thing you know, maybe your executive cabs or your executive customer advisory boards, whatever that may be, some smaller meetings, you may utilize registration and you may utilize badging and personalized emails. You may, I think the important thing is to keep a big picture on the customer level of everything they've attended. So we don't want to miss those data points that they've attended a cab, a customer advisory board, that they've attended a sales meeting, that we want all of that to tie together so that we have a high level picture of how multiple touches with that individual customer contributes to pipeline down the road.
Totally.
And if we're missing those touch points, then we don't have that big, beautiful picture of how events play into everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, of course I would say this, but I say the same thing about your speaker network. I believe they're one of the most important assets that you have as an organization, you being other marketing teams out there, and being able to see that historical kind of contribution of those individuals and leverage them as influencer, champion, subject matter experts is just like the attendee side. So I think that's an area that we're starting to talk to a lot of folks about how they can leverage. Lisa, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I was thinking through it. Mine's less tactical and more big picture, but
Yeah.
Events are not just like a project or a campaign. And coming to Amazon Business and kind of starting this new big program, that was one of my biggest challenges, is being able to explain the complexities and nuances of a program of this size, even in its early phases when it's small. And now it's, it's still not reInvent. Like it's still
Yeah,
not
yeah.
that size, but we're really like a mini business, and I think we have our business plan. We have stakeholders cross team. We have to come up with processes and bring on partners to really develop this business. And I think just from like an organizational standpoint, we have a lot to offer other teams that are working in squads and on sprints for more complex projects. I think that any event marketer or event manager that's on the line feels the same way, that like events are complex. We wear many hats. It's not just event management, it's business management, it's finance management, vendor management, it's marketing, communication, it's all of those things. And so I think we really are experts in like running a fully integrated program and business in many ways, and we could share more of that with our team and those best practices.
Yeah, it seems like I'm going to state the obvious, but you're creating a unique experience for each of these customers or prospects or whatever they might be. And that experience is something that you're not going to get digitally, or very hard to get digitally. So being able to connect the dots for the entire organization is something that you guys clearly do. I am curious what your map of your org, Lisa, looks like, and Kate, your map of the tech stack looks like. I'd love a glimpse at that someday, but I really appreciate you guys taking the time. Again, I wanted to keep these fairly short. I know we're a little bit over, but can't thank you enough. Ian, I don't know if there are any questions, but if they are not, then we'll kind of cap it off there.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely, Kate. Thank you, Lisa. It's good seeing you guys.
Great seeing you.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.